What did your crush do that absolutely killed your interest? Turned out to be the person eating everyone else's food from the break room fridge. That chef's punishable by death. His sister actually approached me and let me know that he was once arrested for locking their other pregnant sister in their basement. Went on a coke binge while she desperately tried to get out. And went outside to beat their unsuspecting neighbor's van with a golf club. That was a big ol' nope. She invited me over to her place, not as a date thing, but just to hang out as friends. Her house was absolutely filthy and the glass of coke she gave me had a hair in it. She was really cute, had a great personality, and was a genuinely nice person. But as soon as I saw catch on the floor near the front door and just dirty everything, my crush disappeared and I left in a hurry. Kept arranging times to talk and whatnot, then always forgot or was not available. I've had the same thing happen to me. She would always text me and ask if I could chat at a certain time. Of course I would agree. Then when I called she would have her phone off or only answer 5% of the time. I really liked her too, so I was just like WTF. If you say you want to talk at so time, you know, answering the phone might help. I had this girl text me, not me text her, 5 days in a row asking to hang out and stuff. I would say yes, then ask what she wanted to do. I would never get a response. I don't understand how you can ask somebody to hang out and then just ghost them. And I only kept getting my hopes up because she had some B's excuse to go with it. We worked together and as I got to know him more I learned he talked badly about everyone. Nurses that are amazing he'd belittle. Talk about how certain people don't know what they're doing because they asked for an ultrasound IV as they were struggling getting a vein on a heroin addict. The paramedics were worthless. Doctors don't know what they're doing. Who he thought was hooking up, and it completely turned me off. He's in his early 40s and into gossip more than my teenage daughter. He picked me up for our first date and his car was disgusting, not talking a few trash items. The entire backseat and floorboard was completely covered in piled up trash. Even up front, I had to step on empty McDonald's bags, old soda bottles, wrappers to even get in. And all he said was, just move it around with your feet. No sorry or anything. Made me feel like trash too. Like dang. Couldn't even clean up a little? Talk non-stop about himself and his accomplishments and never ask me one question about myself. Experienced this, but he would ask me questions about myself and after one line from me, would take over the conversation and somehow direct the spotlight from my answer back onto himself, almost competitively. Went on a date with a guy similar to this lol. He loved himself and whenever he asked me a question he would take my reply and tell me why I was wrong for thinking it, and then tell me his right version. We played Monopoly. That game brings out the absolute worst in people. Once while playing Monopoly, we had lost some of the pieces so we had to use Cluedo pieces instead. Long story short, I won and my opponent got angry and stabbed me in the hand with the tiny dagger. She detested cats and insisted that I give up my furry buddy before she'd move in with me. It wasn't that she was allergic to cats. She issued the ultimatum because according to her my cat received too much of my time and affection, and she wasn't going to compete. Bullied the quiet kid in our class. What a jerk. And it's such shame that she stooped to those levels cause she seemed like a sweet girl. The moment I saw her do that I lost it with her cause the quiet is genuinely a nice guy, still friends to this day due to our mutual love of anime and gaming. We were teenagers, he lived in a different province, and we used to chat on Skype. He wanted me to think he was a badass or something and would always talk about his drug use. He ended up faking a heroin overdose when we were on chat together. I was hysterically crying and freaking out thinking I was watching someone dying and was trying to figure out how to call 911 in another province when he snapped out of it and told me he was actually okay. I didn't talk to him much after that. Told me he liked dating broken girls so he could fix them. See ya later, boner. I had an ex tell me that. She said that she liked dating guys with issues to try and fix them. Meanwhile she had a ton of issues. Huge crush on a fellow uni student. I was invited over for what I expected to be a platonic study date. But hey, any time spent is better than just being alone. Or so I thought. Got there and found another student from class also. Okay, study group. Turns out her mom and her set us up for a full press MLM pitch. Video, literature, The works. I stayed a bit not to be rude, excused myself shortly, and only talked to her in class just in passing from then on. Huge letdown. And for the people wondering, MLM means multi-level marketing, aka pyramid scheme. Signing up to both buy and sell something, while recruiting others to sell also. You get a percent of all of your recruits' sales also. All the percentages basically flow upward. So the only way to make any significant money is to be high in the tree, towards the top of the pyramid. It's all bullsh, basically. Threw my $2,000 laptop through my new big screen TV. What happened after that? It broke. This was years ago, on a first date. Tried to convince me to quit my job and put all my savings into gold bars. Then demanded I let him read my tarot cards to see if we'd be a good fit. Nope. Attempted to get through a horror movie together and he kept letting the movie run, then rewinding the movie so that the horror never came. He pretended to be scared and would whine about the scare that was coming. I guess he thought this was a cute gesture and would refuse to continue. It dragged a 5-minute scene into a 45-minute production of his own. Oh, but I'm scared. No, I don't want to. This is terrifying. This was a guy who told me that he loved horror movies. He was full of really weird contradictions. But this was the straw that broke the camel's back. What the F did I just read? So just before a scare he'd keep rewinding over and over saying he's too scared of what's coming up. F that guy. I hate people talking. Never mind rewinding constantly. Talked sh about every woman in his life. Should have seen the red flags earlier. Didn't realize until later that he probably did the same to me. Apparently having an opinion about anything and speaking for yourself isn't a very ladylike thing to do. Dude was the perfect epitome of the term douchebag. He used to be nice to people only to gain their trust and then betray them. He was attractive though and a smooth talker as well. We started talking, became friends, and I developed a crush on him. Unfortunately, I never knew then what type of double-headed snake he was. Then on one day I witnessed him throwing his best friend under the bus just to save his reputation. Completely lost interest, cut ties with him, and he gave no sh about it. Only then did I realize how toxic people can be sometimes. English isn't my first language. So when I read one day I witnessed him throwing his best friend under a bus, my brain didn't immediately register that it was a saying. I thought he actually murdered his friend. She got blackout drunk at a party and violently shat her pants. The smell alone completely turned me off of any interest I had. Violently ill mayo. Being rude to the waiter and complain that food is taking too long during dinner rush hour. I work in the industry for a year. It's not easy when being slammed during rush. Girl in car behind him honked when the light turned green. He got out of the car and began screaming and banging on her windshield. That's when I knew he was a psycho and I needed to get out of that relationship. Took me a destroyed home and 2 restraining orders later, but we've been broken up for 3 years now. Told me he was only being nice to me because he was interested in a friend of mine. I see his Facebook posts now. He is dumber than a box of rocks on a treadmill. I'll kiss you but I'd never date you. FKU. I had a girl who wanted to move in with me and start a physical relationship. I might have been interested if she weren't moving so fast and if she hadn't already had a boyfriend at the time. The final nail in that already well fastened coffin was when she said the sex would only be physical and that she wasn't looking for an emotional connection at all. I had been secretly in love with her for 5 years and that completely destroyed me. Bragged about drinking and driving. He told me that he and his friends have a nothing under 100 club, where they drink and then drive on the interstate going 100 plus mph and have to send a full-length Snapchat video of the speedometer to each other. 2 of my friends had been killed by a drunk driver 3 months prior. There was a girl in college who was super hot until I saw her share a lollipop with her dog. Not like let him have the last lick or 2. No, she'd hold it for a while then hold it out to let the dog lick it for a bit then put it back in her mouth. Effing gross. In college, I was crazy about a girl named Megan. She was maybe 2 years younger than me. Blonde, life of the party type gal. Took her to dinner and chatted her up about her life. Got to talking about past so's and realized she had very little experience with meaningful, loving relationships. Romantically, it seemed she was on autopilot. In fact, the more we talked the more obvious it became that she wasn't ready to love anyone but herself, which, yeah, no. Good for her. Self-love and self-discovery are kind of big parts of going away to college and growing up, but I realized in that moment that what I wanted versus what she wanted were miles apart. It was a crystallizing moment, and I felt the distance between us widen and watched her shrink away. Never asked her out again, and she never asked why. Either she felt it too, or autopilot just kicked in, or she just wasn't interested. Sorry for my bad English, but here is my story. I had a crush on someone. Let's call her Amanda. For 3 years I tried to get with her. Amanda used me if she needed attention, and I was cool with that. One night Amanda was ringing my doorbell at 2 AM. It was obvious that Amanda was drunk, and I let her in so we could talk. After a few minutes she said she wants me to FCK her. I told her that I never sleep with someone who's drunk, but we could do it when she is sober. She got angry and the insults came flying. She stormed out of my house, got in her car, backed it up into my motorcycle and drove away. I never talked to her again after that night. I called the police and my bike was broken and cost $2,000 to repair. Revealed his list of conquests. Not even my brother knows how many women I've slept with. Then he offered to take my virginity in the back of his pickup truck. I passed.